Hello, fellow backpacking and camping gear nerds. And what I have for you today is another review of things I have laying around. And what I'm going to review is this wooden board here because it's very useful. No, okay, I'm not going to review this wooden board, but it does serve a purpose later in the review because what I'm going to do is review these foam ultralight sit pads. Yes, I'm going to do a definitive comparison review of the Therm-a-rest Z Seat and the generic ultralight sit pad that you can find on Amazon or AliExpress or eBay or Z-Packs or Lightsmith or wherever you can find this pad. I actually got it on GarageGrownGear.com. But this is the definitive review of the ultralight sit pads, and we're going to determine which one is better. But spoiler alert, actually none of them is definitively better. They both have certain advantages and disadvantages, but let's get into it and stop with my introductory yapping. First of all, let's dive into the specifications of these, and let's start with the most important one, and that is weight. And your generic UL sit pad, on my scale, this comes in at about 1 ounce, 1.0 ounces. For some people, it comes in a touch lighter, 0.9, 0.895, but altogether, it's about 1 ounce for this. The Therm-a-rest Z Seat, on my scale, is about 2.1 ounces, so almost twice the weight. And that's blasphemous in the ultralight world, I know. But it does add a little bit more size and comfort for that weight. So let's get to the size next. And as you can see, this Therm-a-rest Z Seat, it's a touch longer and noticeably wider. The Z Seat is 16 inches by about 13 inches. The generic UL sit pad is about 15.5 by 11 inches, so about the same length, but in terms of width, the generic UL sit pad is definitely smaller. In terms of actually using it, let's see, do I actually notice that slightly less width? No, not really. It's got enough space for my bum, so it's enough, but if you want a little bit more size, the Z Seat's a little bit bigger. In terms of thickness, it's kind of hard to measure the thickness of these because when you put them down, they're always just kind of like trying to spring up on you. But I did my best to like eyeball it with a tape measure when they were pushing it down. And they're about the same thickness, like 0.7 inches or 16 to 17 millimeters. So they're about the same thickness. Now when compressed, I think the Z Seat, because it's like a thicker, more of a denser, more resilient foam, it's going to maintain more thickness when compressed compared to this, a generic UL sit pad. And that leads me to the next thing I want to discuss was what are these actually like in usage? And in terms, let's talk about comfort first. And just on this carpet, which kind of simulates a ground surface with a little soft layer on top with the hard surface underneath. You know, in terms of comfort, this is comfortable enough. I'm sitting like on the ground with some leaf litter or grass or whatever, or mulch or soft dirt. You know, I think I can sit for a while. We'll bring over the generic UL sit pad. Yeah, they're both kind of comfortable on softer ground, but that's where this wooden board comes in. And I told you we'd bring in the wooden board, and I'm going to bring it in now, okay? And with the Z Seat, sitting on this wooden board, which simulates sitting on a log or a rock or whatever, oof, yeah, I can definitely feel the wooden board. And so the comfort's not the greatest. Now the generic UL sit pad, I think I can feel the wooden board a little bit more because the foam is less dense, it compacts a little easier. I think on terms of a hard surface, the Z Seat is going to be marginally comfortable. If you want ultimate comfort, you bring in your inflatable air pad. And if I put this on the wooden board, I can't even feel the wooden board. So in terms of comfort, on a soft surface, they're about the same. On a hard surface, the Z Seat has the advantage. But if you want actual comfort, you bring in an inflatable air pad. But this isn't the point of the review. So let's move on back to the foam sit pads. Another important consideration for ultralight users is durability, and with ultralight gear, sometimes durability is a trade-off, and I think that's definitely the case with these because I've owned this Z Seat for longer. I've used it a lot more. In terms of signs of wear, yeah, you'll see signs of wear here on the bottom, on the reflective side. There's all kinds of creases on the foam. But overall, it doesn't show that much wear. The biggest sign of wear is there's these little holes here that I think they came from like an animal chewing on it, and some of the holes were from some prickly bush or shrub or whatever poking it. But in terms of durability, with the amount I've used this, it really doesn't show a lot. The generic UL sit pad, it shows the same types of wear. There's like little chunks missing, and there's some compression and compaction on the nodes and such. So I've owned this for a shorter amount of time, but it shows similar signs of wear. So I think in the long run, durability, the Z Seat has a bit more denser and more resilient foam. So I think it's going to hold up a little bit longer. But if you want the absolute lightest weight, obviously your generic UL sit pad is going to win out there. In terms of warmth, that's another reason you use these, is that in colder weather, they provide you a little bit of insulation from the ground. And even though this sort of has this reflective side here on the Z Seat, I don't think I can really tell the difference in terms of warmth. When I'm sitting down, they do their job of insulating my bum a little bit from the ground. And so that I appreciate. I guess theoretically the Z Seat's going to be a little bit warmer with this reflective side, but I don't know if I can really tell the difference in usage. So they do the job of providing a little bit more warmth and protection from the ground in colder weather. Pack size, yeah, you can see that this ultralight sit pad is definitely more compactable in terms of sort of thickness. I guess in width, the Z Seat is thinner. But in practicality, the ultralight sit pad is going to be easier to stuff into a pocket or under a strap. But an advantage of the Z Seat is this elastic cord here with this reinforced metal ring. You can kind of flip it over, and that prevents it from opening up and splaying out. And then you can take this cord and put it in a carabiner or through a strap or through a loop. So it adds a little bit more options in terms of storage than just stuffing in a pocket or under a strap. I guess you could sort of make your own gear with a reinforced ring and strap on the ultralight generic sit pad, but you know that's going to add weight and kind of ruin the point of having this absolute lightest weight sit pad. So pack size, obviously the generic one's smaller, but this elastic strip here adds a little bit of options in terms of how you can store it. At the end of the day, which one of these is going to be better, and that's going to depend on your purposes. If you want the ultimate lightest weight, the most UL credibility, the least amount of scoffs from ultralight jerks on the trail, your generic UL sit pad is going to win out. It's half the size, it's smaller in terms of area and also pack size, so absolute lightest weight and good enough comfort and ground protection. The generic UL sit pad is going to win out. But in terms of durability and comfort and theoretically more insulation, that's where the Therm-a-rest Z Seat comes out. It's probably more durable. It's kind of hard to say unless you're tracking and using them the same amount of time. This foam is definitely more durable. And then you've got this option with this elastic strap to give you more storage options on your pack. But if you're an ounce counter, get the generic UL sit pad. Now, if you actually want comfort, you need to get one of these inflatable air pads because these are miles more comfortable than these foam pads. The trade-off, of course, is that they're heavier. This is 2.8 ounces, this Klymit V Seat, and you might puncture a hole, and then you have no seat at all, and you just have 2.8 ounces of dead weight until you're able to throw it away. But the point of this video is to compare these foam sit pads, and both have their particular advantages. I can't really say one is objectively better than the other because one does certain things better than the other. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope this helps you figure out a little bit about each of these particular models and how they compare. If you enjoyed this, do the whole like, subscribe, comment if you have any questions. I appreciate your viewership, and maybe you'll see me out there on the trail sitting on a log with my foam ultralight sit pad, but we'll see. I'll see you folks later. Happy hiking, happy trails, all that.